Kita kata dia kata 200,000, kita belum bayar sikit pun, rumah tak siap. Kita kata zalim bank Islam. Aku tak tahu mana kena bayar. Habis bank Islam tu bayar 200,000 kat kamu tu, tak salah kamu. 200,000 yang bank Islam keluar tu bukan duit dia, duit kita semua. Penyimpan dalam bank Islam ni, depositors namanya. Maknanya kalau kamu tak baik kat bank Islam, kamu zalim dekat semua depositors bank Islam. So, masalah umum lebih penting ke masalah kamu seorang? Dalam usul fiqh, apabila bertembung idza ta'arada al-maslahat al-khassah bi maslahatil 'amah fatuqaddima maslahatul 'amah. Apabila bertembung kepentingan individu dengan kepentingan ramai diutamakan. Bank Islam menuntut duit kerana kepentingan ramai, kerana depositors punya duit, bukan aku punya duit. Sebab dia ada dua tabung shareholder fund dengan tabung depositors fund. Biasanya dia gunakan depositors fund. So kita marah pula dia tak zalim. Ya adil lah tu, dia nak jaga dia punya depositors. Nanti kamu zalim kat ramai 10,000-100,000. Tak faham ni. Para ulama' dia tak boleh buat keputusan untuk future. Sekarang ni boleh kena buat keputusan future. Dia tahu, kita semua tahu duit di Nabimah kalau nak dijual oleh Kelantan ke mana-mana, kita sokong. Tapi yang kita tak sokong, kamu duk condemn duit kertas Islamic Bank sebagai haram, riba, backdoor riba. Itu menunjukkan kejahilan. Itu menunjukkan kejahilan dan ketakaburan. Sebab majmuk fiqh Islami satu dunia kata okey, ketakaburan kamu kata tak okey. Yang kata tak okey pula bukan mufti, bukan latar belakang syariah, latar belakang ekonomi. Belajar fiqh, usul fiqh,
So, exchange has been made and now $10 billion sits in a commercial bank account. Here's where it gets really interesting. For as based on the fractional reserve practice, that $10 billion deposit instantly becomes part of the bank's reserves, just as all deposits do. And regarding reserve requirements, as stated in modern money mechanics, a bank must maintain legally required reserves equal to a prescribed percentage of its deposits. It then quantifies this by stating, under current regulations, the reserve requirement against most transaction accounts is 10%. This means that with a $10 billion deposit, 10% or $1 billion is held as the required reserve, while the other $9 billion is considered an excessive reserve and can be used as the basis for new loans. Now, it is logical to assume that this $9 billion is literally coming out of the existing $10 billion deposit. However, this is actually not the case. What really happens is that the $9 billion is simply created out of thin air on top of the existing $10 billion deposit. This is how the money supply is expanded. As stated in modern money mechanics, of course they, the banks, do not really pay out loans from the money they receive as deposits. If they did this, no additional money would be created. What they do when they make loans is to accept promissory notes, loan contracts, in exchange for credits, money, to the borrower's transaction accounts. In other words, the $9 billion can be created out of nothing simply because there is a demand for such a loan and that there is a $10 billion deposit to satisfy the reserve requirements.
Yang ini bukan riba, sebab dia ada aset. Saya jual barang, kalau bayar cash 100, bayar lambat 150, sebab dia bertenggek di atas barang, aset. Yang pinjam tak ada bertenggek, betul-betul time value of money. Yang ini bertenggek di atas aset, maka dia tidak riba. Kata majority ulama fiqh sedunia dan ulama empat mazhab. Habis Jadi terima kasih kepada penganjur masjid, dan terima kasih kepada semua yang sudi mendengar dengan tekun. Alhamdulillah tak ada siapa yang tertidur, saya nampak. Dan harap-harapnya boleh faham lah. Saya dah cuba habis pen dah orang kata untuk bagi faham tu. Dan sampaikanlah, kalau boleh selang-selikan dengan Syekh Ibrahim tu punya video bagus. Ni jawapan dia. Buat terjemahan bahasa Inggeris. Tu nak panggil debat masih boleh lah. Tapi tak suka lah debat muzakarah lah. Wallahu a'lam. Aqulu qawli hadza wa astaghfirullahalazim wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wasallam ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
You weren't expecting the film.
And that's not all. Banks create only the amount of the principal. They don't create the money to pay the interest. Where is that supposed to come from? The only place borrowers can go to obtain the money to pay interest is the general economy's overall money supply. But almost all that overall money supply has been created exactly the same way, as bank credit that has to be paid back with more than was created. So everywhere there are other borrowers in the same situation, frantically trying to obtain the money they need to pay back both principal and interest from a total money pool which contains only principal. It is clearly impossible for everyone to pay back the principal plus interest because the interest money doesn't exist. This can even be expressed by a simple mathematical formula. The big problem here is that for long-term loans, such as mortgages and government debt, the total interest far exceeds the principal. So unless a lot of extra money is created to pay the interest, it means a very high proportion of foreclosures and a non-functioning economy. To maintain a functional society, the rate of foreclosure needs to be low. And so, to accomplish this, more and more new debt money has to be created to satisfy today's demands for money to service the previous debt. But of course, this just makes the total debt bigger, and that means more interest must ultimately be paid, resulting in an ever-escalating and inescapable spiral of mounting indebtedness. It is only the time lag between money's creation as new loans and its repayment that keeps the overall shortage of money from catching up and bankrupting the entire system. However, as the bank's insatiable credit monster gets bigger and bigger, the need to create more and more debt money to feed it becomes increasingly urgent. Why are interest rates so low? Why do we get unsolicited credit cards in the mail? Why is the U.S. government spending faster than ever? Could it be to stave off collapse of the entire monetary system? A rational person has to ask, can this really go on forever? Isn't a collapse inevitable?
You see, the real value of a conflict, the true value, is in the debt that it creates. You control the debt, you control everything. This is the very essence of the banking industry. Their objective isn't to control the conflict. This is not about making profit from weapon sales. It's to control the debt that the conflict produces, to make us all slaves to debt.
Hold on a minute, something's slapping my ass. Hey, he's fucking us!
I want you to walk with me. I got lawyers up here, lawyers down there, politicians up here, politicians down there. Let's walk through this criminal enterprise. Walk through it. Walk through it. I gotta say, you're dealing with a criminal government here. These are criminals in power. Because I really don't care no more about what anybody thinks. If you don't have the testicular fortitude to say what needs to be said, then sit down down and stop trying to say you speak for our people and the hurt of the poor. Now I close. Excuse me. I think I'm getting excited. Now, I may sound radical to you. I may sound like I've gone off a little. But I want to prove what I just said. See, these are criminals. Maybe not in your eyes, but you can't see. Right now you see your government as a tree, immovable, strong and powerful like a tree. You don't see as you should see. They're mannequins in the window of the Democratic store. They're dressed beautifully. Look out. Come on now. They want you to try on democracy. This country don't give a damn about democracy. They're tricking you. This thing called democracy is a trick. Even right now, register to vote. Who the hell you gonna vote for? Stop. Go ahead. Who you voting for? Well, thank God we can get rid of Bush. You a fool. You mean you got hope in this corrupt political system? Do you really think that this corrupt political system is going to really serve our needs? What the hell is wrong with you? That you're going to sacrifice your children and your grandchildren on the false hope? You've been took. Like Brother Malcolm said, you've been had. You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. And you're ready to be bamboozled one more time. Not now. Come on. Clearly, something is wrong. Wrong with the government in which we live. Wrong with the leaders that lead us. Wrong with us in the way we respond to our enemy and each other. This nation is not about poor people, whether they're black, brown, red, yellow, or white. This nation is about rich people, privileged people, powerful people, and to hell with the weak, the poor. They must serve. Now, we are a universal people. But those at the top, they're on their way to hell. And if I got any power, I want to push them into hell as fast as I can.
But I do predict that the level of debt now is simply unpayable. It is unquestionably the case that there will be a default in the next years. So we say, why wait for then and subject our people to enormous pain and suffering for nothing? We should refuse to pay the bondholders now immediately. That's the key point. And then develop a plan to redevelop our economy. What we are making a sacrifice for, in fact, is international banks and billionaire speculators who roam the financial markets looking to make a quick buck. We owe them nothing in terms of the Irish people. Those speculative debts were incurred by private bankers in private deals. We say you cannot fix this system. It is broken beyond repair. It is causing enormous suffering to tens of millions throughout Europe.
him the